Computer. Okay. Good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is the what is this? Is this Creativity? Yeah, Creativity 202 check-in for August 29th, 2023, Tuesday night. We took a couple days off, recovering from the heart surgery. Everything's looking good there. I'm on starting my third week of rehab. Weight has stayed off, taking the meds, walking an hour a day, starting to sleep pretty well, and developing a little bit of cabin fever. Luke will be glad to know I started going back through the old recordings of the research weekends and the live trading weeks of the past 10 or 12 years, and I'm going to create an updated version of kind of the best of those things to make them a little more accessible to more people, because I think there was so much good work we did in there that it needs more exposure. So it's been something I've been meaning to do, and I got enough energy now to actually do it. And 5 weeks before I even think about going back to work, I got like 2,000 hours of sick leave saved up, so I could take off a year if I wanted to. But I don't want to quite take that long. I might never go back if I do that. So everything's good here. I'll do a quick check in with you guys. Luke, how you doing these days? I know you're still fighting that cough a little bit.
Yeah, fighting the cough, but yeah, just busy at work, and we're getting ready to head into spring, so it's much better weather now than it has been in the last couple of months. It's been really cold, but otherwise, just plugging along, I hope.
I was gonna say I can still hear a little bit of raspiness in your throat there, a little thickness. Art, how are things going?
Things are going good. Health's good. Dogs are good. Family's good. Um, the Corral group started their 2023 season last night, so practice started up for that again. Got a bunch of new faces, and we got four really good pieces of music that we need to learn for our November concert. So I'm excited. All's good.
Well, very good. Pleased to hear it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit the. Let me turn my light on here, and then I'm going to hit the tone and get us into the story room. I actually got back into our little. We got a little infrared health spa here in the basement, and when we were cleaning up the basement as part of the Great Purge just before this event, we moved it over to my side, and I now have a chance to use it. So I got back into that thing for the first time, and boy, did that feel good. Just getting that infrared heat and just cooking. Man, I really miss that thing. If that spirit ever moves you to get one of those things, I'll tell you what, that's what the doctor ordered. It's a dry spa and uses the infrared like heat lamps, and it kind of bakes, under it goes, into the skin and underneath it, and warms your body temperature, but without the steam and all that. Very low overhead and pretty compact. And I really swear by here. I think you could see if I can. Let me see. Videos. Choose virtual background. Oops. Yeah, there's the. So it's that's like a two-seater. Although we only ever put one person in there, but it has the nice those infrared heat lamps. Boy, I really swear by it too. I'll tell you what.
Can't say anything yet.
Oh, should be able to see it there. That brown cabinet looks like a closet. Oh, wait a minute. There, I got to turn the
Yeah,
video.
there we go.
There we
Now
go.
we're seeing it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. You gotta.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it has it's like a cedar, so it
Yeah.
fights the bugs and has a really pleasant smell. And boy, I love that thing to death.
Cool.
So, All right, so this will put us into the story circle, and then we'll get ready to go. Hey, how's that microphone sound? I actually trying a different kind of a windscreen. I had a bigger box before, but now I got this. It's just like a capsule, a foam capsule that
Oh.
fits around the microphone. I was trying to combat some of the fan from the laptop. So let me know how that quality is sound.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. And we're off. Luke.
I'll just share my screen and bear with me while I cough through everything. Just loading. So I'm up to lesson 24, the gamer, I think it is. And whilst I'm not trading the Aussie dollar during the day, it doesn't mean I'm not looking at it during the session, because I've got a lot of monitors set up. Sort of what I looked at is I traded the Aussie dollar yesterday on a 5-minute chart, but then I also added in additional positions when the lower time frame had a bit of a pullback. So in terms of this lesson, what I was looking at is basically trying to get a little bit more repetition for the sniper and getting a little bit more training based on how he can be employed a little bit more when the trades are working in my favour. So what the entry position would be is looking for a PSAR flip, regression line crossing the dragon, and entering once that price goes lower, and then getting out when the PSAR is hit. Adding on second positions is looking at it on a lower time frame, on a 3-minute, and there's a pullback on the other side of the dragon, and then a 1, 2, 3 entry above. Now, the dollars at risk on this is really low. So in terms of the being a little bit more, it's being a bit more trigger happy and looking at employing the sniper when 2 or 3 positions are actually put in place. And this is when a 3-minute, this exit here is when 3 positions are put on. And the exit is when the 3-minute PSAR is hit. So this is on a 5-minute chart. So if you look at this on a 3-minute chart, this will be where the 3-minute PSAR is up to. So I thought this was a good lesson in terms of the gamer to try and get more runs on the board for the sniper, as opposed to just looking at it in terms of a manager exit on a PSAR RLXD. And it's all well and good to have this sort of system, but you also need to work out what the objectives are. If the objective is to just make 2R a day on this system, it might be when price hits this point up here and you just exit. Just to have to take profit level based on 3 positions, because you can get there quite quickly. And as opposed to this position would be a 5-minute PSAR flip, RLXD, and then exiting here, which obviously is compounded because you've got 2 positions on, but you can get out quite quickly if you're looking at it at a lower time frame. So just looking at this a bit more during my daytime, because a 5-minute PSAR flip doesn't happen as often as what it did before, because the PSAR set on a 0.08, not a 0.12. So there's limited times that it actually does flip during the day. It might be probably 3 or 4 times from my 10 o'clock until London opens around 3. So there's not a lot of times that the P-Star does flip on a 5-minute. So I just thought I'd put that in for the lesson for this week. But it's very basic. It's not trying to it's not an optimized system. I haven't been tracking this as much as the other systems that I've been doing. But yeah, it's just something to think about, and also looking at the Euro USD, because I wouldn't want to particularly trade the Aussie dollar today because the CPI comes out at 11:30 a.m. my time. So I could potentially just look at the Euro USD and it's unaffected by news. An update on my DAX strategy. So I sent one to Ken last week, but here's another 5 days of results, and I thought, sorry, I would just provide some update of some of the highlights of a per trade system. Looking at it on a per trade basis, and then the other pages are looking at it on a per days basis. So in terms of this, the average on a per trade is 0.3, which is fine. The coin flip pays 2 to 1, and it basically is a coin flip. It's 52% to 47%, and the SQN of 4.8 definitely work with that, or 3.4 based on a 100 trade basis. I'm getting used to sitting on my hands. Trade yesterday. It does get to a point when it gets really close to a take profit, and the bar's about to close. I'm trying not to close the position, and really just setting my rules and making sure that I follow the system as much as I can, and just following the rules to make sure that I'm not putting in a lot of not overriding the system, just making sure the system is just carrying out as what it should. In terms of the per trade capture, the average is still above 0.25 on a long-term basis. This line here is 0.25. So over the last, say, 50 trades, we're very much above that. 50 last 30 days. What the average is, we're very much above the 0.25. So the system's tracking well nicely. The long-term average, the blue line is above 0.25, and that black line is trending up, so that's good. Coin flip's great. It's above 1.5 at nearly all times, so we're still tracking along nicely in terms of that. And in terms of the daily capture, 0.54 per day, and really trying to have that analogy, trying to get it for you guys in terms of US as opposed to cricket over here or golf. I have not watched any baseball in my life. I don't think I will ever. But it's more what's the capture per innings as opposed to what's the capture per hit or per batter that gets up there. And in terms of that, it's looking at what you actually take home at the end of the day as opposed to how many trades I have on. And 0.54 is great. And the NSQN is 8.35, so that's really good as well. I just got to really just focus on making sure the trades are carried out according to the rules, because this will take care of itself. The cumulative bars just get tracking up nicely. The action items that I talked about before. It was a couple of weeks ago, I had a coder in IC Markets coding the system, looking at the breakout candle putting in some 2 or 3 points above and below, and the lot size is already worked out before the trading day started, so that's already set. And then putting in the take profit and the stop loss was something that they were looking at as well. So they've been able to do that, and yeah, just going through the system at the moment, marking up the charts, and what I'm doing at the moment is after every session, the next day I come in, I always mark up my charts in the morning and doing a bit of a video of what the system rules are to make sure I've got them all written down. What I really want to do also is Sunday, not since last Monday. Some of the trades just work. You put the trade on, it gets to it, you take profit, and you just leave for the day. Whether or not that happens in 1-2 bars or that takes an hour and a half, sometimes that just works. And they're the days where it's just easy. And I mean, anyone can follow that system because it's just one trade. It's more those trades, those days where the trade didn't get you take profit and you've taken a loss, you've got to enter the other way, and you've got to do a bit more management. There are the days they're a bit more, the rules need to be set out a little bit more. And that's where I can tease out the system rules and the take profit and the stop loss. So yeah, that's pretty much my work in progress at the moment. But yeah, in terms of the trader exercise, it was more looking at what I do during the day and how I can employ a bit of the gamer mentality of trying to get the sniper a little bit more involved in the day, and how that can and how it can be employed a lot more, because the entry is there, but in terms of him being employed a bit more as opposed to the manager, and putting on additional positions and getting to a certain take profit percentage is something I've been looking at before, but I haven't been looking at it in terms of different time frames to look at a pullback. So yeah, that's me for this week. Thanks for bearing with me while I keep coughing. I hope.
Just a point of clarification on the 198 trades. How many days is that over? Is that look like about 40 days? Is that about right?
104 days.
Oh, 104 days. So on average, 2 a day. But how many days would you say there's only like one and it gets to 2 and you're done? And then other days there's 3 or 4?
If I get the take profit on the first trade, I leave for the day.
Yeah.
So that normally happens probably 1 out of 5, sometimes okay. 2 out of 5 a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably 20 to 30%, I'd say.
Yeah. So what's interesting on that is that when we were looking at where the open falls inside the daily index, if you take the high of the day is 100 and the low of the day is 0, our numbers over 20 years or so is something like 2 days out of 5, the open is within the top 10% or bottom 10% of the daily candle, meaning that it opens at the low and then just goes, or it opens at the high and just fails. So, so a couple days a week is you get that real decisive kind of move. I'm trying to think about how to go back and look at that again with respect to how close to the RL10 turning point does that happen. In other words, like, hey, the day of the turning point, is that the one that is the big, or is it like the day after the turning point, and now that would be like the second mouse. So if the day of reversal is the big directional day, that's one thing. If it's the second day, that's another thing altogether, because uh, if it has already turned after you get a significant move in one direction and you get the turn, and then to be ready for the next day is actually pretty easy to do. Because you got a window. Whereas if what you get is an intraday move, it just suddenly it gaps in the direction of the big move and then huge sharp reversal. You have to have a dynamic alert that says, "Oh, it's happening now," as opposed to being a prepared move. But my spider sense is that the sharp nature of the RL10 when it turns, because it turns on a dime, now gives us the ability to ask that kind of question. So that's now in my head, and it may be that if you saw something on a 20-minute or a 2-hour chart, that could prepare you for the next day's big move or something like that. So I'm thinking my way through that with the where the move in the channel is not linear. You get some days that are just grinding turns, and other days that are just straightaway sprints, and then it's a grinding turn. So I'm trying to figure out where is there some kind of Morse code kind of a signal for be prepared for a large directional day. I mean, we have other things that tell us that, like, hey, we're near a support and resistance anyway, or the volatility is like uber quiet now, so we got to be ready for a sharp move. So there are some things that can give us a heads up about the optimal days to trade, even if it's nothing more than just, hey, the S&P index, the S&P had a big move in the aftermarket, so be ready tomorrow for the big another sharp follow through. So that's kind of the direction I'm heading in with the intraday moves. I'm really fascinated with the 30-minute the 30-minute bar chart. To me is still just freaking magical. When later you'll see the sniper trade of the day for AI. It was everything. I might as well just show that and do my part for the team here. Let's see. I want to. Yeah, let me know when you can see that. That's not the one. Where is that darn thing? Stand by. Hey, Jeff, why don't you give us a quick check-in while I'm monkeying around with this stupid chart?
Yeah, sure. I don't have anything in hand with me because we're in the middle of firefighting. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so basically we just got stopped out. If you look over my shoulder, I don't know if you can see it, but my airplane's parked there and the fire is right there. It's 6 miles from the airport, and we can't put it out because we've hit our limits for using aerial resources on fires. We have wind and turbulence limits, and things like that. And that kind of it's kind of like getting stopped out of your favorite trade. We're right here inside of town, and everybody's going to be asking, like, why aren't you guys doing your job? And that kind of ties into today's lesson, or this week's lesson, I think. How much creativity do we use, and how much logic or rules based? So in the past, we were a lot more creative. We were a lot more gung ho. We'd still be out there going, but that leads to fatalities and crashed airplanes and stuff. So we have hard limits now, and we hit one just about an hour ago. Had to come back and park. So the plan now is hopefully there's nothing at risk out there. There's no people or houses or anything. So there's some bird habitat that we'd like to save. And the best we could tell the incident commander was first thing in the morning would be a good time to try it again, with the weather change coming. So that kind of ties into the thinking of my I emailed everybody my check-in, but it seems to me like in trading and in my other profession here, once you have experience with your system or experience in your field, seems like about 90% logic and 10% creativity on a daily basis, because I think it was the creativity that developed the rules in the first place, right? We tried a lot of things, and the ones that worked, we made that into standard practice, and the ones that didn't, we made hard rules like don't do that again, because the cost of doing that is too high. So that's kind of my thoughts and my check-in. It's kind of interesting. I started my career right here in Twin Falls, Idaho, 23 years ago. And here we are back again. So it's kind of like full circle coming back home, so to speak. But we're just doing the best we can. August is usually our busiest month, but we'll see what happens.
Cool. Yeah, this was my the search for the directional day and find the movers. So this blue line is the open. So this was the close in AI, and its R10 is 40 cents. Its range stats about $4. So this is a 40-cent R10. And what's interesting is, the last 90 minutes of the day yesterday, this thing was just in a sideways quiet channel, just grinding back and forth with that standard noise. And that's basically a 40-cent box that straddles the middle of it, And then here's where it closed. And then this morning, here's the OR3, and then it takes off, and all it does is just go straight up for like 1R, 2R battle drill, 3R, 4R battle drill, rolls the first time that it rolls over and takes the dragon exit, and that's a 6R trade. If you just say, hey, the third position pays for admin because it's a fraction, and there's just 6R right out the gate. Does it always do that? No, but it does it often enough that you shouldn't be surprised a couple days a week when it does that. And then it held at the usual level, and then the COTA 2, and then I accelerated because I had 6R on this one, so I just jumped the second position on quick after it showed a little bit of COTA 2. So that turned out to be a really good trade, probably paid for the whole week, just in symbol AI. So that to me is the magic of the. This is the 3-minute version, and then the 30-minute version of it is just kind of it just looks like that all day, with 30-minute bars moving up, and then the 3-minute lets you really quickly adapt. So anyway, that's my that's what I've been doing lately. Ethereum was like that too. It's just crazy good. And the other part that this connected to is I spent some time this weekend on. Let me go back and reshare that. I just want to. I think it's worth listening to again. The weekend commentary where I was talking about 4 different scenarios. I think it's this one. Yeah. So on the daily, this is a daily bar. And what had happened? What had happened was there was a really long, strong bull market that culminated in about a 10 or 15 days of just rolling over, and then we got 2 days of pullback, and that came back to a significant support level. Like this whole move had now been erased, which was this was the third leg. And so the weekend discussion was talking about this support level. And I said, look, after a long, strong move that comes back to a measured level, because this is a bullish move, scenario number 1 is that it finds support and goes back to the previous high. So that's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is that thing fails and gives you a second big leg down, because this was like minus 5%. So there could be another 5%. Scenario 3 is if this thing accelerates and breaks through that 10% sell off, and then it goes all the way back to 390. And then scenario 4 was what if it doesn't just go up and retest this high, but it just blasts right through that and goes up to the all-time high at 470. So those were the 4 market conditions in the order of probability, which was the buy on a dip, second leg of a collapse, big collapse, and then catastrophic success. So that was the least likely. And it turned out that where we are right now, 2 days into the week, we actually are 2 days now into scenario 1 happening, which has turned out to be 2 really good days at work. You had this nice day at work yesterday, and then this really big day. So it's gone from essentially, 440 to 450, which is about a plus 3% move in 2 days. And today, the second day up, is really a good one. And that's what leads me to my earlier comment about thinking about the law of streaks, or when do we get these large directional days? Was it because it had a chance to fail and it didn't? So you get a grinding day, and then day 2 is the big directional move? So I'm trying to come up with a theory of big directional days. So that's what's in my mind. Okay, so Aho, let me pass it over to Art, and here's my tones.
Thank you. So, in terms of the creativity lessons, I've been on pause for a couple months, and I've been pretty much just focusing on my self work, and that's been going pretty good. And I think I've over the last few weeks been discovering having a lot of insights about myself, which I think it's going to serve me well moving forward, and beginning to identify a lot of the beliefs I think that have kind of held me back and a lot of things. So I'm kind of excited about that, and it's pretty good to kind of see that progress. The other thing I wanted to touch on is if I could share screen. Can I share? Yeah, I'm gonna do screen 2. See how that works. So you guys can see my spreadsheet, hopefully. So the last check-in that I was in, I think, Ken, you suggested based on the system of the green dot, red dot.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is these are just weeks running across horizontal. So we're actually down here now at like row 20, 22 and below. But yeah, I originally did a little kind of meditation there for a while and looked in and tried to figure out what two things I needed to work on and kind of set aside time for. And checking in with my little art and actually doing work or some activity related to my energy healing school and self work school. So I started the first week with just those two activities, and then the next week added a third one where I do my evening affirmations and stretching, so I don't have the same health problems that I ran into like a month and a half ago that laid me out for a couple weeks. And then this particular week, I'm kind of excited too because I had a friend of mine I had dinner with Saturday night, and she suggested that I tack another one on. I thought about it, and that was like a creative activity or some kind of an expressive activity. So I added that one, and it's not so much a time thing. So it's just something I can do during the week that kind of express some kind of form of expression for me, or doing something creative. So that's I just wanted to show this. And I got to say that I think I like it, and it's actually helping me make some progress. And before I seem to be really stymied. The days go by so fast that if I didn't, well, they just go by quick, and I'd be at the end of the week and not spend time on any of the things that I kind of wanted to spend time on. And this is helping me to actually correct that. So I like it, and I'm going to kind of add to it. And the other kind of aha moment I had with it is I realized that I have a tendency to in my mind, I think I wouldn't say like a mountain out of a molehill, but I kind of make something bigger than I think it needs to be. And just by listening to y'all do your shares about how not only in this check-in, but on the Saturday one, everybody seems to do a really good job of just finding the little bit of time they can find each day. And some days they can't, but yeah, just to kind of to do trading or do something that's of interest to them that they want to work on. And so I think I'm kind of coming around to that, and I like it. And this is helping me do that. So I kind of wanted to share that.
Yeah.
And who knows, hopefully in the next few weeks or so, I'll be tacking on a restart of my creativity lessons and spend the time on those and playing catch up. So that's what I wanted to report. Aho.
I would observe, the creativity lessons are really designed to be atomic, meaning you can do them whenever you're ready to do them. There's no, it's not a burning urgency. It's you got to be kind of in the right frame of mind. But one thing that I learned by doing the red dot green dot was my own tendency as an executive officer was, you're always worrying about, if I can say, fighting fires or correcting errors and trying to establish systems. And so you're always looking for the error. You're always looking for the mistake to try to fix. And that's not unusual for mammals. One of the things that we get is that our fear is stronger than our greed. So we know that the consequences of failure are usually worse than the consequences of not quite grabbing the fruit. We jump and try to get the fruit. Okay, we didn't get it. We'll try to get better at it. But if we lose we don't get back to the cave in the safety of the fire, before the wolves get us, well, that's really bad. So when you're trying to do a lot of routine things routinely, and you just get accustomed to doing you're trying to create a habit, you're doing some conscious attention on some things, and so it's the new thing, so you're staying with it. And then when it becomes boring and old school, maybe it's not fully locked in. Maybe you look back and say, oh, it's been a month since I did that thing that I used to do every day. And then you hurry up and surge to it. Well, what the the accountability table with that red dot, green dot, is that it requires you to acknowledge how much you're actually getting done. You know, you accomplish that mission and you get a green dot on there. I mean, you were over 80% on those tasks
Yep.
for over 3 weeks. And yet it probably didn't feel like you were doing all that, like you were doing twice as much at the end of 3 weeks intentionally as you were at the start of it.
Yep.
It probably didn't feel like you'd added a lot of weight to the bar. And unless you actually see the visual, hey, green dot, green dot, green dot, I'm actually getting a lot of things done here, you can undervalue the successful accomplishment of just of mundane things.
I agree.
And you can overweight, oh man, I was supposed to do that thing and now I feel guilt and shame and all that. So now I dwell on that and I get some negative vibes. So it's that was something that we learned on the staff, that once we got an acceptable level of minimum mission essential things, that we were gonna get those 5 things done. And then when we were getting them done, we say, hey, we're ready to add number 6 and number 7. And by the end of a 3-week rotation, I mean, we were doing a dozen things to a very high standard. And then the more green dots that we had, it was an extra piece of motivation to keep things going. So I would say that's one of the values of, this is called a Kanban style management system. In Kanban, you try to minimize the work in progress, but you keep track of all the completed work. So as you really actually see how much of the elephant you're eating through that constant chewing. So there's that. The there was some other moment of Zen that I had that now just completely. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember. It was the bundling of tasks, stacking them. So there is a set of lectures from Wheaton College in Chicago. I think it's Chicago or Illinois. I know it's Wheaton, Illinois. And they were recorded in the 90s by a guy named Professor Arthur F. Holmes. Legendary philosophy professor, was there for like 40 years. A Brit. He's got that marvelous accent. World War II, British naval seaman, and then survived, came to the U.S., got his college degrees, a doctor of philosophy from Northwestern, and then taught at Wheaton College, a Catholic university up there, for 40 some odd years. Well, he taught a history of Western philosophy course with 81 lectures over the course of a full year. And they recorded them and make them available to the world. And it's like from the pre-Socratics all the way up to the postmodern French existentialism. And you just so every one of those lectures is an hour. And I want to walk for an hour. So I like walking and I like regulating my breathing, and I wanted to listen to that course. So when I put those two things together, I just completely lose track of the time because I'm listening to Art, but I know he's my timekeeper. So by combining those two things, it's actually easier to do both of them together than if I walked for an hour, then came back, took a shower, and then went and listened to Arthur F. Holmes for an hour. Now, I can't take notes when I'm walking,
Right.
but it's actually pretty easy to generate notes for the lectures and accomplish the points that I want to make. And I notice now that I've combined it with the walk that I'm actually listening better to the lecture than the first time I heard them, because I was listening to Wittgenstein and Bertrand Russell and Kierkegaard, and I got a lot more out of it now that I've combined it formally with the walk. So as you start looking at adding more and more tasks to that list, and I specifically want to think about the stretching and the breathing. There's some stuff that you might be able to do with that at a certain time of the day. or a creative moment where you say, hey, I'm going to start the day with nitrous oxide stretching and breathing. And now, when I've got that nitric oxide rush and fully oxygenated, I'm going to go right to my studio and make a sketch or sing a song or record a something or just enjoy the day, you know, listen to a piece of music or something. And that you start chaining those things or stacking them into a really leveraged payoff. And then that's one of the ways that you can make it easier to do all of them by lowering the transaction cost of performance. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. I have us at 8, almost there. So, and am I correct, Jeff? There was no extra presentation for today. Am I right on that?
I think that'll cover it. That
okay.
kind
Yeah.
of supplemented the PDF that
Yeah.
I sent out to everyone.
Yeah, I did review all that stuff. Everything's looking good. I definitely want to get I want to invite the three of you formally to. I'm going to energize the annual research weekend, and it's really you doing a 20 to 30-minute presentation to a group outside of our normal check-in for the next layer in the onion skin of people that are coming to the recital. Just think of it as a recital, and things that you want to say that lock in for you the things you want to say to yourself to acknowledge, the last year or the last quarter or whatever it may be. The last year, I think I would go with an idea of performance, and then also the forward-looking goals. Like the one I'm going to do, I'm going to talk in a more structured way about that week-long process I did with the surgery, the prepping for it, the going through it, the time I spent in ICU and rehab. That was a 7-day deliberate effort to do mindfulness, after turning off all the emails and media and television and radio, and really just concentrating on breathing and accountability, life auditing. I'm thinking of it with 3 parts: the Nikan philosophy of examining relationships through the Japanese lens, the true storytelling circle of creating artifacts to document what I was doing, and then so Nikon true storytelling, and then the vision questing from Mike Three Bears about surrender, empty, nothing, and then living forward with love. So I went through a deliberate process while I was doing, the existential surgery. So I'm going to be talking about that in my in my research weekend check-in. I'm tentatively targeting October as the month to record, to have them in something like a final form. I'd like to be done by the end of October to give to people to reflect on for Thanksgiving and Christmas, to be able to have November and December for other people to appreciate the stories we're telling. So if I would invite you guys to do that. That's one of the ways I raise scholarship money, is that the guys that are doing the work don't pay anything, but the folks that want to listen to our work support with the scholarship money for the soccer folks. So anyway, I think you all have some important things to say on that. Yeah, Luke.
So with the research weekend, do you want it to be recorded and given to you to put together by a certain weekend in October, or do you want?
I think so. What I would like, what we did the last time, me, you, Ken, Glenn, Tom Hardison, we actually did a scheduled Zoom session where you made your final presentation. I actually think that's the right way to do it. because there's some extra presentational qualities to being live, and then
Yeah.
then the other guys can ask questions directly, and I can do follow up questions and commentary, and that's like a nice 2 hour chunk,
Yeah.
for each one of us. So I would look at like the month of October for you to kind of schedule the 2 hours that you want to do, and then we'll get a couple other people in there to listen and ask questions of. And you can recruit a couple guys to be your second readers, to your accountability partners. That's pretty straightforward. But I think I think there's a real value in recording it live in Zoom with some immediate commentary, because more comes out of that than comes out of the purely planned event. There's something about the performance that makes it special. When the spotlight is on, so to speak. Practice is never quite like the night of the concert, as Art knows fully well. So that's what I want to say about that. Anyway, I'm going to hit the tones and ask you to listen to your word for the week, and then we'll wrap this rascal up. Luke.
Rules.
Art.
Chill.
Jeff.
Limit.
Routine. All right, fellas, that brings tonight to a close. I'm going to lock this up and get the process going. I'll get up 20 minutes or so before the nightly one starts. Always good to see it. Good to be back in the saddle. Appreciate your patience. Take good care, and we will see you soon. Cheers.
See you later.
Good to see you, Ken. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.